Have you ever, watched things happening, maybe events in history, maybe even stuff today, and just got that weird feeling of, haven't we seen this before? Or maybe wondered how power, even when it starts with the best intentions, can sort of warp everything it touches. Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're not just opening a book, we're really peeling back the layers of a story that, yeah, on the surface looks like a simple farm tale, but it's actually one of the sharpest allegorical novels out there, George Orwell's Animal Farm, which came out back in 1945. So our mission today, it isn't just to retell a story you probably know pretty well. It's more about digging out those profound, sometimes honestly chilling truths this classic has about power, about propaganda, and maybe about that very human or, well, animal tendency towards tyranny. It's a deep dive into how Orwell, quite brilliantly, uses a barnyard to mirror an entire revolution. You remember the scene, right? Manor Farm. It's all drudgery, oppression under Mr. Jones. Then bang! The animals revolt. They kick out the humans, take charge, and declare this whole new world based on one really powerful idea.
All animals are equal. It's this vision of liberation, everyone owning things together, real equality. Sounds great. But then, and you see that slow, insidious turn. Little by little, the pigs, specifically Napoleon and Snowball, they start gathering up the power. And it's the way they start acting just like the oppressors they threw out. It's almost inevitable, which makes that famous line so haunting. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And that's really where the story, our deep dive, truly kicks off. Okay, so we all kind of know the main allegories, right? Old Major, Napoleon, Snowball, Boxer, Squealer, Mr. Jones. But what's really fascinating is how Orwell uses them to pick apart the mechanics of revolution and, well, power itself. Could you maybe help us connect the dots a bit more clearly between these farm animals and the real historical figures Orwell was critiquing?
Absolutely. And what's really striking about Old Major, who's pretty clearly Marx or maybe Lenin, isn't just his initial idealism, is how his words, after he's gone, get immediately sort of co-opted, twisted by the ones who grab power next. It's a really chilling insight from Orwell, right? How even foundational ideas can be warped to serve totally new agendas. And then, yeah, Napoleon emerges, the obvious Stalin figure. Orwell uses him to show the whole process of becoming authoritarian, ruthlessly getting rid of rivals like Snowball, who really mirrors Trotsky intellectual, full of ideas, but ultimately, well, outmaneuvered.
Right, outmaneuvered and then completely demonized later on.
Exactly. And it's not just the leaders either. Look at Boxer, the horse. So hardworking, so dedicated. He basically represents the exploited working class, the proletariat. His loyalty is unwavering, and he almost deliberately refuses to question things, which makes him the perfect victim, tragically.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Orwell shows us how that kind of devotion, if it's not paired with critical thinking, just paves the way for a new kind of servitude. And then there's Squealers. Squealer, the pig who's constantly twisting facts, rewriting history. He's Orwell's really stark picture of the propaganda machine, right? The state-controlled media.
The ultimate spin doctor.
Totally. He can make black seem white, truth seem like a lie just by repeating things relentlessly and playing on emotions. And of course, Mr. Jones, the farmer they kick out, he's got Nicholas II, the old monarchy, the old oppressive system. Every single character is like a careful brushstroke in this bigger historical picture Orwell's painting.
Mm-hmm. Seeing how they all interact, it's so clear. Animal Farm isn't just mirroring history. It's this profound commentary on, well, universal stuff about power and society and maybe just how people are. This really isn't just a story about farm animals, is it? So what does all this mean for us, reading it today?
Yeah, exactly. If we step back and look at the bigger picture, Animal Farm really digs into some timeless themes. Take power and corruption. What Orwell shows so brilliantly is that the most dangerous corruption isn't always just about, say, greed. It's the insidious way founding principles get redefined, twisted, until tyranny basically puts on a mask of progress. The ideals aren't just thrown out, they're kind of perverted from the inside. Right there in the open.
While everyone's watching, or maybe not watching closely enough.
Precisely, which leads right into the interplay of education and ignorance. It's tragic. The animals who aren't educated, like Boxer, they just couldn't really grasp the power games being played around them. They get manipulated, not because they're bad, but because that lack of understanding makes them so vulnerable to exploitation.
They just wanted to work hard and believe.
Right. And the real tragedy Orwell points out is that when a population chooses, maybe, comfort or belief over critical thinking, even with good intentions, they sort of become unwitting partners in their own subjugation. Passive ignorance becomes just as powerful a tool for the oppressors as, actual force.
That's a really chilling thought.
It is. And the book is also just a masterclass in showing propaganda and control in action. Through Squealer, Orwell doesn't just say propaganda exists, he shows you step by step how language gets twisted, how information is rewritten, how it's used to confuse and manipulate people.
Keeping everyone off balance.
Exactly. It's a stark warning about how easily truth just erodes if it's not constantly challenged and defended. And finally, it's just this heart-wrenching look at ideals versus reality. I mean, the revolution started with such noble ideas, equality, freedom, but it just tragically collapses into the very same oppression, the same mistakes it was trying to overthrow. It's a powerful cautionary tale about movements losing their way.
How revolutions can devour their own children, as they say.
That's the phrase, yeah.
And what makes all these really complex themes hit so hard, feel so universal, is Orwell's style. It's incredibly, well, it looks simple on the surface, doesn't it? Almost like a kid's story. But every word just lands with this incredible weight.
Yeah.
How does he do that? How does he get that power from such a, seemingly straightforward narrative?
Well, that's really where his genius shines, I think. He uses that fable structure, animals on a farm. It immediately makes these huge political critiques digestible, accessible. It lets him present really profound, even disturbing truths without just overwhelming you with complexity.
Like sneaking the medicine in with the applesauce almost.
Kind of, yeah. The language is so clear, it's direct, there's no jargon. It makes the allegories impossible to miss, and their lessons just feel, well, undeniable. It's that masterful simplicity that makes the meanings hit home so deeply no matter who you are or how old you are. It strips away all the noise of real-world politics to show you the raw, unchanging dynamics of power underneath.
So, okay, bringing it back to us today. What's the big takeaway? Why should we still care so much about a book from 1945 about talking animals? Why does it still echo?
Because honestly, its relevance hasn't faded at all, not one bit. This book is like an essential primer for anyone who wants to understand the basic structures of pretty much any society, right? Or the mechanics of political control, or that cyclical nature of history we talked about.
Some of the patterns.
Exactly. It's a lens to view human behavior and power dynamics no matter what year it is. And it's a pretty short read. You could, easily get through it in a couple afternoons.
That's not a huge time commitment.
No, but the questions it raises, the insights it gives you, they stick with you long after you finish that last page. It's like a blueprint for spotting authoritarianism, whatever mask it's wearing.
So really, Animal Farm stands as this powerful warning. It shows us pretty starkly how revolutions, if people aren't incredibly careful, incredibly vigilant, they can just spiral down into the exact same kind of dictatorships they were trying to get rid of. Which maybe leaves us with the most unsettling question the book poses, doesn't it? As we navigate our own, really complex societies today, are we actually vigilant enough? Are we paying enough attention to recognize when those noble ideals start to bend? Or, maybe more subtly, when convenience starts to win out over critical thought? What patterns, maybe after hearing this, do you now see in the world around you? And how can we, actively resist becoming the unwitting residents of our own animal farm?